So here today, I'm Cassandra Portelli. Simone Richardson's here, and I'm sure she'll be waving at you. We have Associate Professor Elena Prieto. We have Sabrina Syed, and also representing us today, but not necessarily talking, are Rebecca Smith, who will be there for the Q&A. I've seen her in the chat, and Daniel Proctor, who's an apology today. I'd like to acknowledge that we're joining this symposium from Awabakal and Warramai lands. I'd like to pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to First Nations people in the many places that you're joining us from today. And I'd also like to recognise that Indigenous Australians have been researching, learning and teaching on this land for over 60,000 years. So the out-of-field teaching experience is particularly relevant in mathematics in Australia, as seen from this data published by the Australian Mathematical Sciences Institute. Approximately a third of our classes are taught by out-of-field mathematics teachers, and over 3/4 of students are taught by an out-of-field teacher in 1 or more years in junior high school, which is comprised of years 7 to 10. Simone will now talk about the retraining program and its success to date.
Thanks, Cassie. So Cassie and I are in a fairly unique role. We're support and engagement officers for our retraining program. Substantively, we're both experienced maths teachers. So our goal is to graduate teachers who are not just qualified, but who identify strongly as mathematics teachers, and also who have really great pedagogy. And we're trying to build their identity by addressing each of the components listed in this framework you can see here, which was developed by Johnson and Down et al. And we follow that as far as possible. And I'll give you a moment to just have a little look and consider each of the areas. Do you want to move on, Cassie, please? Thank you. Okay, so through the Mathematics Retraining Program, the Department of Education provides participants with a number of supports. And on the next slide, I will give you a moment to read the summary of the practical supports that are offered. Thanks, Cassie. So what we're particularly proud of, and this is obviously a theme after the guys just spoke, is our community of practice, which takes place mostly in Microsoft Teams because our participants also are all across the state. The community of practice, we built it through Teams chats, through mini professional learnings, which are designed to stimulate discussion, and through one-on-one catch-ups with participants on a regular basis. I've just recently actually started doing school visits where I go out and work with teachers in their own school system, which is working well so far, but that's just a new thing. Look, anecdotal evidence for a shift in identity would include our resource sharing chat, where at the start of the year, it was mostly participants asking for resources and mentors giving it to them, to now there's more of a balance as participants have gained confidence in their own practice. And as well as that, in their subject chats, rather than asking Cassie and I for help all the time, they're starting to help each other and relying on us a lot less. As a bonus, the level of contact with participants has enabled us to be really responsive to their needs and for the program as a whole to be really agile in its support. So you noticed on the last slide, they have point 2 release from teaching. It was actually point 1 initially, and that increase directly came from interactions through the community of practice. It also allows us to deepen the discussions that participants are having with each other and with us. And it's allowed us to bridge that gap between the mathematical content and their classroom practice. Feedback from the participants shows that they've now a strong preference for content that mixes both. And we call this, as well as the discussions that we mentioned earlier, we call it our stealth PL. Most meetings that we hold are videoed and shared across the board and actually now out to other university students. And I really think that the best testimony to the warmth and support of this community of practice is that participants will come and publicly struggle with mathematical content and then know that they're videoed and that is shared to support others. In the wider arena, Cassie and I have tried to position ourselves sort of as a pipeline. So we share the feedback of the participants and mentors to the retraining team and to the university. We've been very lucky. We're welcomed into the learning of both the maths curriculum team and the maths growth team. And that makes us really well placed to share the professional learning with participants. I should also give a shout out to Manswa there, who have also been very generous with sharing their material with us. And as well as this, several universities and researchers, some of whom are here today, so thanks guys, have been really generous with sharing their research into out-of-field teaching with us. Most proud of is our 100% retention and pass rates that participants have had in semester 1 as a result of the wraparound care and implementation. And this represents a really significant improvement on the last 5 years of retraining in mathematics. And experience shows that once they get through the first semester, they tend to make it to the end. So we're very optimistic. I'm going to hand over to Cassie now, who's going to talk about the mentoring side of the program.
So side by side with the retraining program and unique to the mathematics retraining program is the provision of a highly trained and experienced mentor. They're supported by the New South Wales Department of Education to undertake their role, and these are the supports they receive. The mentors contribute to the well-being and development of the retraining program participants. So we're 6 months into this pilot and have been funded to expand the program in 2024. One of the things that Simone and I are most proud of is how the mathematics mentoring program is contributing to the school leadership base for the future. I invite Elena now to give you some insight into the university experience of the participants.
Thanks a lot, Cassandra and Simone. So I am going to talk a little bit about how things look from the university side and what we do with the retrainees once they come to university. The first thing we do is we assess their prior knowledge, because some of them may have had some mathematics during their undergraduate years. So depending on how much they've got, we place them into one of 3 streams. In one of them, they would have to do 4 units if they have some knowledge. In the other 2, they would have to do 6 or 8, depending on the prior knowledge. And also, actually, because we are bound by the New South Wales Education Standard Authorities, you know, there is whether they want to be mathematics teachers as a first teaching area or an additional teaching area. There's a few things to sort of take into consideration there before we place them in stream. But essentially, if they were in the master stream, which is for those that have no prior experience, they would do a course that they all do together about using research to support their learning. And then they do 6 mathematics courses that are equivalent to 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 level mathematics at university courses. And then they do that course in red there at the bottom of that pile, which is a practicum that they go to a school. If they don't have a school, we find them one. But in this case, most of them are already attached to a school. So we actually accommodate them so they don't have to stop teaching to teach in a practicum. So they do their practicum on their own practice that they are already doing as out-of-field teachers. Cassie, can we go to the next? Thank you. So we've got several layers of support at the university. We have the typical, you know, sort of online assessment, drop-in sessions for the courses. But what we are introducing this year is a bridging course, because we noticed that for some of these out-of-field teachers, they are quite confident with year 7, year 8 mathematics. but not so much with higher level mathematics. So we are trying to make sure that their bases are solid, so they are they can undertake the program and be successful. Then Cassie, would you mind going to the next slide? We also use quality teaching rounds, which is something that was pioneered at the University of Newcastle, and that we have been involved in for a long time, and is heavily supported by the New South Wales Department of Education. So they learn about the quality teaching model, and they also learn how to observe each other and use this as a way of talking about their practice and understanding their practice. And indeed, we've just recorded 360 video. If you could go into the next slide, Cassandra, thank you. In which we play in the iCave, where our student teachers, mathematics teachers, get kind of inside the classroom of a very experienced teacher and learn from this teacher virtually in a 360 environment that can be used in an iCave, which is something we have at the university, and that we intend to actually bring to the teachers as an all-inclusive, immersive, with goggles experience, so they can sort of sit as a fly in a class of a very experienced teacher as well. So that's something else we're doing. And I'm gonna let Sabrina Syed, Dr. Sabrina Syed, talk about some of our evaluation of our program. Thanks, Sabrina.
Thank you, Elena. I'm looking at we are also looking at the assessment of this program by doing some mixed method research. And this lens we are using here is the 6 domain described by Hannes, and quality teaching model, the quality teaching model Elena described. So we are trying to understand our participants' motivation, self-image, self-efficacy, task preparation in terms of how they see themselves as a teacher and their professional identity. And if you look at their background, the key learning area, their first teaching area, only 13% of them have mathematics background, and most of them came from different other teaching area like science, fine arts, economics, engineering, inclusive education, and different. And maths teaching experience, 49% of them are currently teaching out of field. So which is the interesting part. So we wanted to understand that how they see themselves as a teacher through this research. Their geographical location is interesting. 82% of them are coming from rural and regional area. And the research said that most of rural and regional schools suffer most to get a mathematics teacher or science teacher. Next slide, please. The research question we consider to do this research is: how do participants' professional identity develop as they participate in the program? How do participants' mathematics teaching practices develop as they participate in the program? And this is some early findings. These are some early findings, like why participants want to be mathematics teacher, like their motivation behind coming to this program. If you look at the last row, it's like interested in mathematics education. Yes, we have run some interview as well, some surveys, and all of them, like most of them, and like they like mathematics, though they are not mathematics teacher officially, but they like mathematics. Participants view themselves as a maths teacher, which means how they see themselves. They belong to mathematics teachers community. It's like we received very mixed response in a sense that many of them said that yes, maybe, or some of them said that we see ourselves as a mathematics teacher, as a teacher, but not yet fully a mathematics teacher. The data was collected at the very beginning of this program, and we will see that what happened in of this program. I think it's for Elena. Elena, do you want to jump in?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. So there is you can see here some scales in terms of the development of their teacher identity and their self-efficacy, and you can see that there is here at baseline, because we are only really at baseline. We want to have a look at this later on as the program progresses, because they are only one semester in, really, how this changes. But you can see that there is quite a spread, and that for the most part they are not feeling terribly confident about their own ability to teach mathematics quite as yet.